After 4 seasons. He made the playoffs in his first 2 seasons, but as you know, the Dolphins have missed the last 2. And this year began with Tyreek Hill's season-ending surgery in September and then ended with Tua Tagovailoa being benched. As NFL reporter Jeff Darlington joins us with the latest. And JD, it certainly seemed like McDaniel was safe. On Monday, he said he was operating as if he was going to remain the head coach and be part of the process to hire the new GM. So what gives? Why did Miami decide to cut ties with him?
Well, Hannah, I've talked to a number of people within the organization, and on Tuesday, a day after that, Steve Ross held a meeting with Mike McDaniel in which they unpacked both the past season and also his vision for the future. And Ross came out of that meeting. He continues to always have an affinity for Mike. I've felt that for months now, talking to people within the team. Ross really likes Mike. He loves his offensive mind. He loves his personality. But ultimately, he walked away from that meeting feeling like it just wasn't there, that the results haven't been there, and he didn't necessarily feel like going with what he would call status quo. And as a result, he decided it was time to pull the trigger and make the decision to fire Mike McDaniel, and obviously now putting forward a head coaching search, which is getting more interesting by the hour.
Well, sure. I mean, John Harbaugh entered the fray, right? I mean, he's the hottest name on the market, and we know that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, Michigan man, he likes both Harbaugh brothers. What do you do about the Dolphins jumping into the mix for John here?
So I'll try to unpack this as quickly as possible. I know the connection is being made that McDaniel was fired so they could hire Harbaugh, and I understand the logic behind that. But I'll tell you that they are adamant that Ross had to feel his own clarity with the decision to fire Mike McDaniel on its own, independent of whether they were able to get Harbaugh or not. Now, the interesting part of this is the general manager search is ongoing. Very literally at this moment, the team is conducting 3 different interviews. They had one interview with their interim GM, Champ Kelly, yesterday, and then today they'll have 3 other candidates in-house to interview in person. One of those guys is Chad Alexander. Alexander is directly tied to John Harbaugh. If tomorrow, when I'm expected them to make this decision, Chad Alexander is the guy, I think that absolutely puts the Dolphins in pole position to land Harbaugh. But again, this is such a fluid process, and I do believe that Ross felt the need to fire Mike before he moved on to the thought of hiring Harbaugh.
Connecting a lot of dots here, so stay tuned, as they say. Meanwhile, we do have more breaking news from Florida today because the Bucs fired their offensive coordinator, Josh Grizzard. This is one day after it was reported that Todd Bowles would be returning for another season. So that's just further turnover. We know what Liam Cohen did there, and he's gone, and he's in the playoffs now with the Jags. What are you hearing about the plans now for Baker Mayfield and that offense, and who's going to be making those calls?
Well, obviously, it felt like Todd Bowles was on the hot seat. He knew that he was going to have to make staff changes, and it did come down today, the most important probably of which is that offensive coordinator situation. So now we look toward who Baker Mayfield is going to want to work with, who Todd Bowles believes will get them back to where they were with Liam Cohen as their offensive coordinator. Certainly there are names out there. Let's bring it full circle and throw Mike McDaniel out into the mix. Now, I have been texting with McDaniel already, and I can tell you that he is already willing to take on another challenge, whether that's an offensive coordinator job like the Bucs have, whether it's a head coaching job, vacancy, perhaps the Cleveland Browns or a team like that, remains to be seen. But I can tell you that McDaniel and any vacancy for an offensive coordinator job seems like something we should be paying attention to.
Wow, just staying right there in Florida. Why not? That'll make it 4 OCs in Tampa and for finale of Wild Card Weekend on Monday night. The Texans at the Steelers on ESPN and ABC. And Pittsburgh, of course, got into the playoffs when Tyler Luke went wide right on Sunday for the Ravens. Houston, they've come in high. 9 straight wins, and the NFL's best defense. She's nodding her head. She knows what the Steelers are in for. Brooke Pryor joins us now. And under Mike Tomlin, and we have talked about this ad nauseum, they have lost 6 straight playoff games. So what are folks there in Pittsburgh saying about the pressure to end that skid?
Yeah, Hannah, their last playoff one was in 2016, and when we pointed that out to left tackle Dylan Cook this morning, he said, dang, I was still in high school, which I think really underscores how long it's been and also made all of us feel very old. But Mike Tomlin said earlier this week that that is his story. It is not a collective baggage, that this is not a group that in its entirety hasn't won since 2016, and Terrell Austin said the same thing. But I asked tackle Keanu Benton, if it meant more to this locker room to try to get that win for a guy like Cam Hayward, who's been with this organization since 2011 and has won one game. TJ Watt, who has never won a playoff game. And Keanu Benton said, yeah, I mean, you want to win it for yourself, but you want to fight even harder and win it for the brotherhood and win it for guys like Cam and like TJ.
It was great to see Cam and his real-life brother have such a special moment in Week 18 with his brother scoring the touchdown. And for Aaron Rodgers, he's known playoff success, but this is his first run with the black and gold. What can you share about the locker room's faith in their quarterback?
And it is an incredibly strong faith. And I look at the fourth quarter of that win against the Ravens that shows exactly how this locker room feels about him, because we asked TJ Watt what was going through his mind during that last drive that the Steelers scored on, and he said, I felt weirdly calm, weirdly no panic. And that's what all these guys in the locker room have said. Dylan Cook said that he loves the way that Aaron Rodgers leads, the way that he commands, that he is just very relaxed, and it makes it easier to play when your leader is relaxed. Another thing that's going to make it easier to play this weekend is that wide receiver DK Metcalf is back. I was just out at practice. He's on the field for the first time since that suspension. I asked Arthur Smith about Metcalf's return, and he said, well, yeah, it makes it easier when your top receiver is back. But he pointed to that Ravens game and said, we also completed passes to 9 different pass catchers. Yep. And like Rodgers did a couple weeks ago, he called them the cast-offs, the has-beens. Maybe he's trying to light a fire under these guys to continue to play up to that level that they did in the fourth quarter that led to the win against the Ravens.
Always lighting a fire under his receivers, isn't he? And Rodgers has 24 passing touchdowns and just 2 picks in the first game of the playoffs in which he plays. Brooke, it's going to be so... Well, the Packers and the Bears split the regular season, the home team claiming both. Chicago never led Green Bay during either game, winning Week 16 in overtime with a walk-off 46-yarder from Caleb Williams. Each team entering on a bit of a losing streak. The Bears lost their last 2 games, managing just 16 points against Detroit. The Packers have gone 0-4 since Week 15 when Micah Parsons tore his ACL. Here are the head coaches on both sides about Saturday's game, starting with Matt LaFleur.
Just do your job and focus on your job. And we know this. Like, anytime you're playing a really good football team, whether it's in the playoffs or in the regular season, every play is so critical. So you can't have lapses, whether it's intensity, whether it's mental lapses. It just can't happen.
They're a very talented group from top to bottom, and we've kept the game close both times we played them and had a chance at the end of the game to come out on top. I'd like to see us play better early in the game, particularly on offense. It felt like the last couple times we played, we haven't gotten off to as fast at the start as you'd like.
Yeah, Super Bowl champ Jason McCourty is with us to break it down. It's kind of been the story of their season, right? Like having to have all those comeback wins. You'd rather be a little more comfortable in this one, as Ben Johnson said. And what does Caleb Williams have to do to put them in that position?
And you just said it. It's been a lot of his heroics towards the end of the game that have gotten him over the hump. But sometimes it just comes to the little things, and being able to do that, play in and play out. And even last week against the Detroit Lions, there were moments where Caleb could have taken an easier throw, which you're going to see here as we roll this tape, where it would have helped propel their offense. Sometimes you're setting up to take a shot down the field. This one they have it rare. He rolls out to the right. But right now you see DJ Moore, 3 guys all around him. Durham Smythe in the middle of the field is wide open. Caleb takes the shot down the field. That ball is intercepted. Take the easy completion and be able to move forward. You go back to the game in Week 16, a 4th-and-1 situation. Alameda Zakir wide open for the first down. Now here, Caleb is able to use his legs and pick it up. But those are the small details within the game for Caleb that if you can make those throws here and there, that's what Ben Johnson is talking about, getting off to a faster start with some of the easy.
Yeah, and it's his first playoff game, right? Yes. You know, the last quarterback to defeat the Packers twice in a season, the last Chicago quarterback, he's a head coach now in the NFL, Jim Harbaugh. Isn't that crazy? 1991.
Wow.
That is the last
I was 4 years old. I remember well.
So why would you know that? But anyway, I thought that was kind of a cool stat. It says a lot about the NFL's oldest rivalry. Okay, so let's talk about the Panthers and the Rams. This is really interesting. So the Rams have to go back across the country. They have to face a team in Carolina. Epic upset for the Panthers of the Rams that nobody saw coming earlier this season. How do the Rams avoid a repeat of some of the mistakes that they made in that game?
Yeah, there's one side of it. There's the Matthew Stafford and the interceptions. The other side of it for the Rams is their defensive side of the ball. They gave up too many explosive plays to Bryce Young in this Panthers offense, being able to attack that secondary and get the ball down the field. Here it is, week 13 in that matchup. Bryce Young, he has crossing routes going over. Look how much time. Look at all of the space he has in the pocket. He's able to now get the ball down the field to Tetero McMillan, and he makes a play going up and getting the football. This is last week. You'll see the clock in the bottom all of the time. A double move up top. Michael Wilson is able to beat the DB for a touchdown. So for the Rams to win this game, you can harp on all the turnovers that Stafford threw in that first game. I believe he gets that corrected. But on the defensive side of the ball, in the secondary, Hannah, they're going to have to play deep to short and not allow the ball to go over their head.
Only 4 quarterback pressures in that loss to the Panthers. All right, J-Mac, much more with you coming up. Thanks, my friend. Brian?
Okay, let's bring in our sports betting analyst, Joe Fortenbaugh, and let's talk about some of those NFL Saturday games. And just heard J-Mac talking about the Rams in Carolina. By the way, Rams laying double digits against Carolina. How do you like that one?
Unprecedented territory. You don't see this very often in the NFL playoffs. That said, I'll lay the points with the Rams. I think the game's a blowout. Carolina enters the postseason with a minus 69-point differential. That's a playoff team who's been outscored by 69 points during the regular season. That is the worst playoff team in the history of NFL playoff teams. That's what we're dealing with right now against a Rams team that's got the #1 offense in the NFL by a mile and a top 10 defense. J-Mac is right. There were a lot of problems that we saw in that first meeting. Rams were -3 in point differential, but they did win the yardage battle. They averaged 7.4 yards per play, and they still lost the game by only 3. Clean some of that up. I think they win this one going away.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the night game. You got the Packers, by the way, been slumping, injured, slight favorites in Chicago. How do you like that one?
I love how you started that with the question. I like Green Bay. Minus the 1.5. Yeah. Wow. All right, so let's look at that. They've lost 4 straight. They've lost those 4 games by an average of 11 points per game. They got no juice. No one's talking about Green Bay. No one's picking Green Bay.